So very warm welcome to everyone. It's very autumnal Monday night, and very warm welcome to anyone joining us via the YouTube live stream. So my name is Charlotte and I'm one of the teaching team here at the Brixton Buddhist meditation group. And if you are tuning in online and it's your first time, we are doing sort of semi-hybrid classes. We're sort of not open to the general public at the moment, but I am joined at Ephra Space by some lovely members of our community. So thank you to you guys for coming along. I feel quite chilled out today actually. Maybe it's a kind of change in season. I feel I feel like it's sort of, I can feel it in my energy levels or something, sort of like a quietening down, and it's dark now by the time we start these sessions, so definitely feels like a change in season. I thought I'd give us this golden shrine today to kind of help get in the mood for that. Great, so what I'm going to do with us just initially is just do probably just a 5 minute or so body awareness practice, just to sort of help us land. It might be a little bit longer than that. If you don't have the luxury that we do of having these very lovely mats and cushions made by friends of ours in Venezuela, if you're just at home on a sofa, just get yourself as comfortable as possible. And also be lovely to know who else is joining us from outside. That would be great. Good. So just drop your name in the chat for us. That'd be good. I just realised, we've just realised the tablet's really far away. I thought I was missing something. Great. Okay, just get yourself settled down. And just to begin with, just taking a couple of deeper breaths in and out. I like to do this in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just helping our nervous system to just settle a little bit more. Firstly, noticing the contact of our body on the ground, on the chair, and the physical sensation. So anywhere we're touching a mat or a cushion or the floor. Notice how your weight is dropping down through your sitting bones and your legs. Seeing how balanced you are across the left and right side. And if you're leaning forward or back, it can just be helpful to just rock very slightly forwards and back, left and right, just to get our sense of where our centre of gravity is. Now just notice if there's any particular areas of tension in the body that are a little bit more on your radar right now. So that might be around the brow, or the jaw, or the belly. And sometimes we turn inwards and it feels like every part of our body is tense. That's fine. Let's just get curious. What's actually there? Bringing an open and kindly awareness to our experience, just as it is. You might notice that just through bringing some awareness to that tension or discomfort, you just naturally ease around the area, you just let go. But you don't need to try and force that. And if there's anywhere that's particularly tight, you can use the breath to help you soothe that area of the body. So imagining the breath moving in and out of that area. allowing the breath to deepen and lengthen. Noticing now where you feel the breath most in your body. So that might be around the chest or the shoulders, or further down in the belly. Just following those sensations. Noticing if the breath is going into the belly at all. You could even place one hand on the belly to help you notice if there's any movement there as we breathe in and out. When we're particularly tense, we often restrict our breath so that our belly doesn't move. If that's the case for you, then just see if it's helpful to just more consciously breathe down into the diaphragm. Allowing the movement of the diaphragm to just give the whole organ cavity a bit of a massage. Becoming aware of as much of your body as you can now. Sense of connection with the floor, all the way up through the spine, through the crown of your head, and upwards. So we're also connected with the space above us. In meditation, there's both this movement downwards of earthing and grounding, of stabilizing, but also this energetic uplift and spaciousness. And possibility represented by the bright blue sky. Noticing any particular emotional tone that we've brought with us to this practice. What's the emotional weather that you're bringing to this sit? Not trying to push it away, but also just recognizing that, like the weather, it changes. Allowing the possibility that by the end of this evening you might feel quite different. Being aware of the space of the room around us. And also the connection that we have with each other, the support we're providing through being here together tonight, even if you're not physically with us. Now for a few moments, we just won't do anything at all. We'll just sit here in silence together. What a precious opportunity to have on a busy Monday in September. When you're ready, opening your eyes, and if it's more comfortable for you, just coming out of your meditation posture. Just take your time to do that, there's no rush tonight. Great. I might go over to say hi to anyone in the chat.
Oh yeah, the tab was not turned.
That's okay. Do you mind just reading
Yeah,
out?
we've got Sunset Films from Forest Hill.
Great. Sunset Films from Forest Hill. Lovely to have you here.
We've got Emma.
Emma.
She said she loves the gold shrine shop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? Actually, this gold material is from the local kind of haberdashery cloth shop on Atlantic Road, which I can thoroughly recommend as and when they're open. And this lovely blue kind of, I don't know if it's brocade, but I'm going to call it brocade, shawny thing was actually from Llama's Pajamas in Bethnal Green, which is a charity shop associated with the London Buddhist Centre over there. So they're really good for finds for shrines. Yeah.
And we've got Tom, Chris and Ian.
Tom, Chris and Ian, hello guys, nice to have you here.
We've got Harriet, Pam and Manjinder.
Harriet, Pam and Manjinder, hello.
And then we've also got Karina or Karen.
Karina, hello. Good, yeah, lovely to have you here. And if anyone else is joining, do please come and say hi. And if you've got any kind of questions or reflections or comments as we go through the evening, just pop them on there.
Oh, and Stephanie.
Oh, and Stephanie, hello, nice to have you. Great. Yeah, so we've done, what have we been doing? We had sort of 4 weeks more kind of broadly on the Mudita Bhavana practice, where we're focusing on these kind of the sort of receptive and active sides of it. And then Maitranara last week was sort of talking about, I think he was saying to me about sort of dropping into the well of the heart was the images that he was using. Yes, the next few weeks what we're going to do is we're going to move into practices that kind of draw out different qualities of the metta practice. So they're called the Brahma Viharas, also known as the heavenly abodes, the divine abodes, they kind of translate as. So we've got compassion, equanimity, and this evening we'll be doing mudita, so sympathetic joy, which is one of my favourites. And I think it's one of my favourites because I think one of the things that we're really good at in the True Ratna Buddhist community is rejoicing in other people's merits. I think it's one of the things that we actively try and do. If you've ever been at anyone's birthday or anything like that, I think people give like really good cards where they've like really thought through people's qualities, and I think it's that's one of the things that we kind of like to bring into our meditation practice as well. So yeah, I like that it's a meditation practice that we do. Not that often actually, we don't tend to do these practices in our general classes so often, as we thought would be a nice thing to do. But I like that we also sort of take it into our lives with each other as well, and now into our workplaces. And yeah, so sympathetic joy, which feels, I don't know why it feels a bit of a mouthful. I guess really what it is it's about, it's kind of drawing out something that just sort of naturally can occur in our lives, something that's just kind of there when something happens maybe to a friend that's very positive, or we're just sort of really aware of a kind of synergy or something that we have with them, where there's a sense of connection or what is it? 'Cause it's not just connection, but it's more of a kind of, well, we're just happy because something's going well for them, or because they're just being around and that they've got certain qualities or something that we kind of really kind of appreciate. So it's more this kind of emphasis on kind of resonating with certain qualities that people have. And I think it's well, a bit like the metta practice. I just think it's radical. So I think if you look at so many of the cultures around us that just can get really toxic, I think a lot of what sort of goes on, like in workplaces and media and all sorts of things like that, is just like continuously just pulling each other down. So instead of there being like this kind of sense of abundance of like, oh, it's brilliant that you're great at this, and maybe I'm not so good at that, or I don't know, just this feeling like, oh, you need to have like one person on top or something who's like the kind of best at everything, or there's a kind of sort of hierarchy or something. Whereas this kind of encourages the feeling of like, oh, there's just lots of really good qualities, and isn't it great that like these people have these qualities, and there's a kind of sort of richness or something. I think it also really goes against this kind of like cancel culture that we can really have, which I think can often just really, really focus in on, understandably sometimes someone might have done that's not particularly skillful, but kind of discounts maybe other sort of positive qualities that they might have. And gossip tends to be around that kind of like niggly, kind of pulling each other down feeling, I think, isn't there? There's something around that, gossip. When I used to work in housing, there used to be quite a lot of just that kind of really habitual kind of chat that's like pulling people down, and that's really hard to kind of stand out with if there's a whole kind of culture of that. I didn't get a chance to find it before doing this evening session, but one of my favourite stories about the Buddha is that I think it's like really, it might even be like in the middle of the night actually. I think it's probably a moonlit night. It often is, isn't it? I think stories about the Buddha at night, it's moonlit in a mangrove grove somewhere. You can imagine this case. And my remembering of the story is that one of his kind of main disciples is away doing something else. And in my memory, he goes and wakes someone up. He goes and wakes up another of his senior disciples up to rejoice in one of his other disciples' merits. So he just, I don't know, I just find it so significant that the Buddha just sort of really felt a strong urge to just be like, I can't remember if it's Shariputta or Ananda or whoever's way, but he's like, oh, isn't so-and-so, like, hasn't he got all these wonderful qualities? He's just such a wonderful person. And the other person's like, yeah, you'd be a fool to think that this person isn't amazing for all these different things. I don't quite know why it is that just so, because there's loads of different stories about the Buddha that we can kind of, take inspiration from. But there's something about that one that I just love. Like he didn't need to do that or something. It wasn't, to try and educate someone about their meditation practice or whatever. It just sounds like it was a very kind of spontaneous, rejoicing in someone. So I like that as a kind of, sort of vision of where kind of transformation can take us, is that we just like need to wake up one of our friends in the middle of the night to tell them how wonderful someone else is. I wouldn't mind that actually. It's like, I don't really like getting woken up, but actually if someone wanted to call me up and be like, Jack, he's just like really fab, and I had to just call you up and tell you how awesome he'd be, I think I'd be like, you are mad, but yes, you are right, Jack is like really, really great. So that's the kind of interactions, and I think it's because guess this meditation practice has a kind of direct link to that kind of way of being with each other, in relationship to each other, that we're trying to cultivate. So the practice, in terms of its structure, is very similar to the metta practice. So all of these other meditation practices we'll do over these few weeks, and we'll do kind of like 2 weeks on each. The structure tends to be like slightly different to the metta practice, but it's kind of not wildly different. We're taking all the kind of same elements around being receptive, for example, so having this like receptive and active sides of the practice, not trying to force anything. It more being about the kind of intention to cultivate a certain attitude or sort of will towards people, instead of needing to have a particular kind of experience. Like, I don't know, if you've just had, like, one of our friends was here and she just decided that she needed to go home because she's really exhausted. You know, it's not about making her like suddenly coming out of this and feeling like she's just in love with everyone. That's not what we're trying to do. It's more that kind of intention, to cultivate a certain kind of attitude towards each other. Yes, it has a sort of similar elements to the metta practice in terms of letting go of expectations about what we're trying to feel in it. But it goes through the similar stages. So we're still going to have ourselves, a friend, a neutral person, so someone we kind of know of but neither like nor dislike, someone that we find difficult, and then in the other stage of bring to mind all those people, and then more and more and more. But after the second, in the second stage, is an additional stage. So after we're just sort of feeling metta towards ourselves, we bring in someone who is traditionally called the boon companion. I don't know whether we just need new translations, because for some reason boon companion seems like really archaic as language, but we'll go with it. So our boon companion is someone that when we bring them to mind, and they don't have to be it's good to have someone who's different to like a good friend, but it's a person that we would bring to mind that when we think of them, we're like, you've really got some great qualities, and just being around you kind of like really lifts me up. Has that kind of sense of just like really rejoicing in them, where it's very easy to do that. So it might be, whereas like say with a good friend, it's often someone who's quite similar to you. Your boon companion might be someone who's a bit older or more senior to you at work that you find particularly inspiring, or a sort of spiritual friend that you sort of look up to as well, where you kind of like, you've got all these great qualities. So they come into our second stage, and we just sort of reflect on those qualities. We sort of open up to them, and again to see what the effect is in the body. Do you guys remember we did like a gratitude practice like a few weeks ago? So again, the point wasn't to like you have to feel grateful. It was more about the active side was more about reflecting on what we've been given. It's a bit like that. Whereas in this case, it's more that we're reflecting on their qualities, not what we get out of them, if you see what I mean. It's like them in themselves, their qualities in themselves. And then we go through the rest of the stages as we would in the metta practice. So the same people, but the flavour is this emphasis on reflecting on their qualities. So we might find that straightforward with a good friend. Neutral person might just have to you might not know anything specific about them, but you just might need to reflect on like, they do, that thing that I interact with them around, they've probably got some good qualities for that, or you might just need to trust that they probably do have some other qualities about them, and just because we don't know doesn't mean that they don't have them at all. And then for the person we find difficult, again, sort of can be quite radical, but like with the gratitude practice, because it's getting us to expand out our kind of limited sense of them. So it doesn't sort of mean that there's nothing valid about what might be going on with us at the moment, but just expanding out of our perspective, so we can take in these other qualities they might have, and see what happens when you try to do that. Sometimes we feel real resistance. We're like, no, that person, they're like, they don't have anything good about them. That can happen. But just sometimes it's even more in the body that you're just like, I don't want to go there. I want to keep my story about how they are. And then when we start bringing to mind more and more people, just kind of let it flow sort of organically. So we'll give it a go. If at all anything feels forced, just rest back into that kind of sort of open, curious awareness about how we're doing in our bodies and what it's like to bring this other person to mind. And just see what happens. As I said, we'll have another go at it next week. There'll be a bit of a different flavour if it will probably bring out next week, or some particular aspect. So I think sometimes with learning slightly different practices, it's a bit like driving a car. Just give it a go a few times and see what happens. Good. Okay, so we'll get set up again for meditation practice. A bit more of my tea. We'll just have probably about 3 minutes or so on each. You can have a really extended practice with these because of the extra stage, but we'll just kind of touch in on each one. Again, just really taking time to get set up in your posture. So your posture isn't a kind of separate thing to the meditation. Just really see it as like integral. It's really integral to the meditation. Allowing her weight to drop down through the cushion and the chair. And again, having a sense of our spine extending upwards from the sitting bones, up through the back, the neck and up through the crown of the head. And taking a couple of deeper breaths again, if that's helpful, just to settle us. So now let's just decide who we're going to bring in for these different stages. Maybe just choose the first person who comes to mind for each. Again, we'll start with ourselves, that should be straightforward. And then the second stage is this boon companion, so someone we really drawn to their qualities for. Then a good friend. Then a neutral person, someone we neither like nor dislike, but that we do know. Then someone we're having some difficulty with at the moment. Mudita Bhavana. So in the first stage, just developing a sense of kindly awareness towards ourselves. Might even help just to think of a particular quality about ourselves another friend might like. Tell ourselves, may I be happy. Really giving ourselves permission to feel joy. And seeing what our response is in the body. Bringing to mind our boon companion. And just spending a few moments using our imagination to really bring them to life in our minds and our hearts. You might say their name a few times in your head. You might be able to have a sense of being around them, their physical presence. You can even imagine them being sat next to you right now. Maybe just choosing a particular quality of theirs that you're drawn to. You might have a memory of when that quality was very obvious. And just see what the response is again in our body, particularly around the heart area. Not trying to force anything. And again, more actively bringing to mind that quality of theirs and how it shines through in their behaviour. Again, coming back to our body and our response, our felt response to that. Now bringing to mind a good friend. Again, taking some time to really bring them to life, so they're in your mind as fully as possible. Noticing what it feels like to have them in your presence. And just gently zooming in or drawing out a particular quality of theirs that strikes you. Might be something they've done recently. Again, just don't worry about having a particular response. Just put the active energy into reflecting, bringing to mind that quality. Now checking in for your felt response. perhaps around the chest and the belly and the throat. We can wish them to be happy and to feel joy. Now going into the fourth stage, bringing to mind our neutral person. So it's very easy to slide off this person because we're not having a strong emotional response to them. We neither like them nor dislike them. So it can be really helpful to just maybe bring to mind the situation in which you see them when you do. Bring to mind the other senses can help. Can just really help with those memories of them. So make them as real as possible for you in your mind. Now just seeing if there are any particular qualities about them that you're drawn to. It might take a bit more effort. It might just be quite simple. It might even be unexpectedly easy. Again, noticing your response in your body. And wishing them to be happy and to experience joy. Now moving on to the person that we're having some difficulty with at the moment, even if that's just quite mild. Doesn't need to be a big drama. and really bring them to life in our mind. So we have a sense of being present with an actual person and not just what we're finding difficult with them and the story around that. Before we do anything else, just being honest about what our response is to them, particularly what happens in the body, if any parts of us are now tightening up a bit. If there's any effect on the mind, so you might have gone into like rehearsing something we want to say to them or something that's been going on. There might just be a general emotional tone. So we're not going to deny that, but we're going to introduce an and you're invited, encouraged to just see if you can bring to mind a positive quality that they have. Or perhaps a time when you've seen them happy. Again, we're not pushing away, we're expanding to include this in our relationship with them. Again, just checking in what our response is in our body to doing that. We can make a choice to wish them to be happy and also experience joy. So now allowing everyone else to come into our awareness. There's a real gang of everyone now. Just thinking all of us collectively meditating together, it's a load of people. Can we get a sense of this sort of abundance of qualities that all these people bring to enrich their lives, our lives and other people? We can wish them all to be happy and to experience joy, including ourselves. We're going to start to expand, or just welcome in. You can imagine it more as welcoming in more and more people to your meditation practice. So let's just start with everyone else who's meditating with us tonight, in the room and online. We might know some of them, and if we do, their qualities might spark off something in us. If not, we can just trust that they'll be bringing something. Probably lots of things. I'm just starting to open up to more and more people. So, all the people that we like. All the people we dislike. And everyone else in between who we don't know, which is pretty much the rest of the world. Allowing a sense of abundance of qualities. And wishing everyone to be happy and to feel joy. And then finally doing nothing at all for a few moments. Just noticing how you're doing right now. Giving yourself time just to come out of your meditation postures. Okay, so if anyone's got any questions or comments, it really helps to know actually if there are, how people have found that practice. And any just general questions actually about this area or meditation in general, feel free to ask anything you like, really. And but I think so I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll come back to them. I think we'll just do a couple of announcement-y things. So start off with a Dharma-ometer if Jack's ready to go. You can really still tell when people are smiling. Actually, it's in the eyes. But a smile with your whole face. Great. We did check in what side it's going, so I'm going to go for the other side. There we go. It's nearly the minute. Great. Okay. So I think we've raised just over £1,000 this month, haven't we? So thank you to Sarah, I think it is, for a one-off donation. Yeah, and I'd just really love to put in a request actually to people to really consider giving a one-off donation this evening, as soon as you can before you go to bed, because we're nearing the end of September. And we do really need to raise £2,000 a month to support 3 cracking team members to help us with all of the practical stuff. So the majority of what we do, as most people know, is kind of run off of volunteers. So yeah, all my time and Mike Nara's time, who also does Monday classes, and a lot of other stuff is, well, it's the lifeblood really of what we do, that sense of kind of generosity to each other. But we do support three people part-time to help us with all the various functions, and I can honestly say we couldn't run without them. Actually, we couldn't run without them. There's kind of too much going on, and obviously with COVID and everything, there's all the additional complexity of doing this stuff, and there is a bit more obviously financial uncertainty with COVID, and winter's kind of looming and we're not quite sure what's going to happen with lockdown. So yeah, I'd really appreciate actually if you could consider giving a one-off donation this evening to help us hit our £2,000 target for this month. That would be, well, it wouldn't be great, that would be really amazing. Actually, that'd be really amazing if you could help us do that. Yes, there's that. And then other things that are on. So Viranaga and Anna Pushpa are running a Wednesday night session, starting at 7 o'clock, not at 7:30 like our other stuff, on rituals. So that'll be live streamed. And I think it's I really personally really love ritual. I've just kind of warmed to it from the beginning. But it's a bit like the meditation practice. We're just sort of just bringing our awareness a bit more to things that are kind of naturally just part of our life and giving it a bit more attention. So rituals are part of normal human life really, and we have them around birthdays and when people die, and to mark anniversaries of people after they've died, and weddings and all sorts of things. So I really think there is something very fundamental about human beings doing ritual, and just often culturally we might not have such positive associations with some types of ritual, we just might not sort of know what to make of it, and what Buddhist ritual in particular is all about. So yeah, I'd really encourage you to come along to that. Yeah, I think both Viranaga and Anna Pushpa are really passionate about ritual. Viranaga is actually on a 100-day ritual challenge because he's doing a puja, so that's a Buddhist ritual. He's doing one every evening, so he's very fired up about this topic, particularly at the moment. Yes, do join in for that, and the details for that will be on YouTube. Yeah, on our usual channels. I should have said about doing the donations. I think is the link.
Links in the chat box.
Yeah, links in the chat box. Yeah. Great, thanks. So there's those two things. Yeah, so we'll just have a bit of time to go to any questions or comments if anyone's coming in.
There's one comment.
Yeah.
So Manjinder asks, I'm aware that envy and my sense of lack stops me from connecting to the positive qualities of others. I feel it as a contraction in the front of my body.
Yeah.
Any suggestions about how to work with this?
There's loads in there, isn't it? Well, from the sound of it, you sound really well, Manjinder. You sound like you're really aware of it, Manjinder. So I reckon if you gave it a bit more thought, you would probably know. So I'm just giving you a bit of kind of confidence and encouragement to kind of work that out. But some lovely things you brought up there. So one was contraction in the front of the body. So that's great, isn't it? When you actually know, like, oh, it's here. It's, it's like a particular location. So particularly in meditation, you can just get more interested in those sensations in your body. And that goes for like anything, whether it's grief, craving, anger, anything. It's just getting to know the kind of landscape of that in the body can help. Because what that means is we're not sort of also trying to push away from it. Or hold on to those sensations in a particular way. So, I mean, I'd even just really give that a go of just like really staying with it in your body and just getting curious about it. Well, one of the things we do around Gratitude. So I've done a gratitude practice as a way of dealing with a sense of lack. So feeling like I'm kind of alone in the universe, having to deal with everything on my own, which can feel quite scary. So maybe I have never done this with Mudita, but maybe you could doing that as a kind of antidote to sort of developing envy, and just see if there's a way that we can just strengthen that as a as a daily practice. So maybe take that on as a little challenge. See if every morning you could just practice kind of rejoicing in someone. Maybe that's enough to start with. Maybe that's enough to start with, and see how you get on. Come along next week to the online session and see how you go with those two things. And because we'll do the same topic again next week, so see if that works, and be interested to see how you find it. Yeah.
Can I ask a question that relates to that?
Yeah.
So with this first stage in the Mudita practice?
Mudita, yeah.
With this first stage, are you kind of reflecting on your own positive qualities? Because that also might be some kind of route out of envy. Yeah, there seems to be a couple of different ways of doing it. You can either do it just as a straightforward more of a meta, just staying with a kind of feeling of well-wishing towards yourself. But I do think it's helpful to bring in reflecting on your own qualities. I think that can be really good. I think it can be, and allowing other people to do that too. Actually, one of the things I really noticed over my sort of first few years of being involved in the Triratna sort of community was more. I'd be on retreats and with friends or whatever, and we'd have a practice of like rejoicing in each other. And I remember feeling like physically I couldn't look at them. I could do it for everyone else, but I couldn't. It was like this physical, like total, like blocking off and resistance towards someone else saying, "Actually, you're really good at this, doing this thing." And I think it just really undermined a certain, particularly around some things, it really undermined a story of myself that I wasn't quite ready to let go of, that I wasn't good enough at that kind of thing or whatever. So I think actually it can be one of the harder stages is doing it with yourself, depending on what your kind of temperament is like. But yeah, reflecting on quality is a good thing. Actually, like, if you get some like nice birthday cards, or someone says something about good at your work, like actually listen to them. Actually listen to them, and don't just kind of like, I don't know, I can very easily like kind of push it off or something. Allow yourself to be awesome. That's a possibility. Are there any other questions or comments? No, I'm due to just say thanks so much.
Yeah, cool, give it a go. The other thing I wanted to bring up was one of the other reasons why I think doing this kind of practice is really important, because I think it's a lot of the news that we get and a lot of the emphasis is around basically like things are going really, really badly wrong in the world, and in lots of different ways, and that can get really overwhelming. And it can get overwhelming in a way that's really disempowering, because it can feel like it can feel like there's a real lack, but on like a kind of human, like total human, cross-human level, like humankind level. And then when faced with these kind of big kind of challenges that we have, it can feel like, gosh, well, there's not really much hope, or feel like we have to get focused on the suffering. And I work for a local community energy organisation, and basically part of our job is to get more solar panels on top of schools and estates and things. One of my colleagues was talking today. He's like, look, basically we're facing like an extinction event, actually. Like, it's like, if you look at the science, it's really, 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 really bad. Like, really bad. And we were talking about like strategy for our team and stuff. And we were talking about, how ambitious should we set our internal goals and stuff. He was like, we're facing a really big problem. I think we just need to go hard or go home. And I was thinking, I was like, oh yeah, what is it about this team that makes me feel like I can hear that scale of like, we really need to do something, and feel like I feel up for it. And actually it's because I think we're very good within the team about being very positive about all the skills that we bring, very encouraging and very kind of, I don't know, I just think every time we have a team meeting, that kind of, this whole thing around Mudita and Sympathetic Joy is just very naturally there, because people are doing such a, there's a very positive culture in our team. And I think that is part of how we can hold working such a big topic of like climate change and environmental damage and fuel poverty and the stuff that we do, is that we have this climate of internally of being really positive about each other and reflecting on what we do bring. So that's kind of what I wanted to leave it on. Is just I think we really need it. I don't think this is like a nice to have. I think it's a real essential thing about reprogramming how we see ourselves. So I would suggest we try giving it a bit more of a go. Great. Pardon? Oh, Zoom. Yes, thank you. At least someone's keeping track of the things I meant to say. Another reason I'm going to be calling up Cheryl in the middle of the night and telling her how awesome Jack is. Huge laugh. I might do that. So please join us. Who's on the Zoom call tonight? Ian's on. Oh, awesome. Ian is wonderful. You should join the Zoom call tonight just to get to hang out with Ian. So we have a Zoom call starting in about 15 minutes. The details are below. If you're tuning in online, we unfortunately won't be able to make it because we'll have to pack up here. But it's just a chance to get together, talk about how your meditation practice is going. Ask any other questions of other people there. There's a lovely community of people who do it very regularly. So please, do go and join and have a bit of time getting to know the other people who are meditating. It's one of our main ways at the moment that we can connect with each other a bit more, given all the restrictions that we've got. So I really recommend you do that. And I'm just going to check in with Jack. I haven't forgot anything else. No. Good. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for Alex, Elena, Cheryl and Jack for being here, and for everyone else for joining in and doing our bit to work on our minds and change the world as a result.
Thank you.
Good night.